All right, guys, welcome back to part 4 of creating your own Excel optimizer. So we're going to pick up right where we left off from part 3. We're going to go ahead and bring the salary in, and this is where we're going to use the VLOOKUP formula. So this is the player we're going to look up. This is the table we're going to look it up in. And then for salary, we're going to pull column 2, 1, 2, and projection, we're going to pull column 3, and that's calculated by 1, 2, 3. So let's take a look here. So we got salary. We're going to do equals VLOOKUP. Go ahead and type that in. I'll wait a second for you. And so it wants to know, what are we looking up? Well, we're looking up 04. So we're looking up our player right here that came up as number 1. We put a comma. Now it says, okay, where are we going to look this up? Well, we're going to go look in a table that is A2 through C200. And I'm going to hit F4 on each of these. And so the dollar signs in front of it, they make it static so it won't move. So when we drag this formula down, it stays looking in the table A2 to C200. If you don't have the dollar signs and you drag it down, it's going to do A3, A4, A5. So if we get down to the bottom and it starts at A5, it could miss a golfer that is in A2, A3, or A4. So put the dollar signs in there if it's a table, and it's going to be a consistent table the entire time. Okay, so now we're going to return the column. So we want salary. Like we said, that's column B, so that's column 2, comma, and do you remember what we put? False. We're always going to be false. So it looks like this. Equals VLOOKUP, and then in parentheses, 04, comma, our table, which is A2 to C200, with dollar signs in front of each to make it static, comma, column 2, comma, false, close the bracket, and that'll give us the salary for the player. And then we're going to click in there, bottom right-hand corner, we're going to turn to the plus sign, we're going to drag it all the way down, and that gives us all of our salaries. And then we're going to come over here, and I'm just going to highlight and copy this. Now, after you copy it, if you click another box, it could go haywire. So make sure you always click Enter to just kind of get off of all that highlighted. And then come over here and paste it in a projection. And to get the projection, it is the exact same formula, except we're going to change this to column 3. So instead of returning salary, we're going to return projection. So same thing, 04, same table, column 3, false. I'll leave it up for a second. Okay, and same thing, we're going to click in there, bottom right hand corner, hover over it till you get the plus sign, drag it down, and then that's going to give you our projection. Now we want to sum up these right here, so just click in the box and we're just going to do equal sum P4 through P, what's that, 8, P9. And so you can drag it down and hit auto sum. Either way, I just wanted to do the formula for you. So we're going to sum the cells between P4 and P9. And if you ever wonder where you're at, it highlights it blue. So go ahead and click OK. And we want to do the same thing over here. So you would just do equal sum, and it would be Q4 to Q9, and it would total these up. Or you can click down here, drag it over, and it's going to do the same thing. So it summed these, it's going to sum these. So this shows us our salary is $50,000 and our projection is $542. So that's pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the fun stuff, and we're going to create a button to do this for us now. Every time we do this, we got to come over here and click 0, and then we got to drag all this down to reset it. And if you're spitting lineups out pretty quick, that takes a long time to do. So we want to have a button. So we're going to need a macro. So we're going to record 2 macros to start, and then we're going to create the buttons. We're going to assign the macros to the buttons, and then we're going to test it and make sure it works. Again, it's been a while since I've made one of these, so we might run into a few hiccups. So we're going to go over here to Developer tab. We're going to go to this Record Macro up here in the top left. So when you click Record Macro, everything you do is recorded, and then when you click Stop Macro, it stops. Everything from the add, delete, the buttons you type, what you click, what you remove. So if you ever need to do something and you don't know Visual Basic coding, just record a macro, and it can be something as simple as erasing a box. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do record macro, and we're going to call this run optimizer tutorial. I'm going to click OK, and it's recording. You can see up here in the top left, it is recording the macro. So I'm going to go to the Data tab, Solver. I'm going to click Solve. I'm going to click OK, and it created that. And now I'm going to go back here to Developer and click Stop Recording. So that's pretty simple. So that's a macro to run our optimizer. However, there is a catch, and this is where I got hung up on for the longest time, and I will help you get through it. But now let's go ahead and do another macro. We're going to do record macro, and we're going to do, I'm just going to call it reset opto. Yeah, we'll just call it reset opto. Okay. Okay, that name is not valid. All right, we're just going to call it clear. Now you can see it's recording. And so I'm just going to go up here to picker. I'm going to put a 0. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to drag this down just like we did to manually reset it. And then if you ever put in a lock or exclude, it's going to be in this column. So I'm just going to highlight the whole column and then hit delete. So if you ever type it in there, it's going to delete that column. And then I'm going to come back over here, stop macro. Now what we did, so anytime you run it, when you use this clear macro, it's going to change all these back to zeros, and it's going to erase anything in the lock column. So lots of people forget to change this lock column, and a player will stay locked that's hidden down here and keep popping up. So make sure you do that. So now we've got our 2 macros, and we're going to go create a button. So we're going to go Developer tab up top. We're going to go to Insert, and these controls, there's a lot of different things you can do in here. This top left one is button. We like buttons. So we're going to put it right here. And I'm just going to leave it plain for now. That's our button. Now if you right click it, you can do Control V or Control C for copy, and then Control V to paste. Okay, that did not work. Let's see. Okay, so click off of it so it's not highlighted. Right click on the button, and then you want to go to copy, and then just click right below it and hit Control V for paste, and then click out. So we have 2 buttons. Buttons are fun. Now for me, I like aesthetics, so I'm going to just highlight the cells behind it, turn it black so we can see the buttons. So now these are the 2 buttons that we're going to use. And if you click in there, you can change it. So this is going to be run opto. So if you click in it, it'll let you change it. I'm just going to bold it, and let's make it a little bigger. Let's change this up to, what can we do? 16-point font. There we go. We can see that nice and good. All right, and then we're going to call this one clear, reset, whatever you want to do. So type in there. You can highlight it. You can bold it. Let's take it up to 16 too. All right, so these are our 2 buttons. We have run opto and we have clear. Now when you click it, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there. So we have to tell this button to do something. So what we're going to do is we are going to assign it the macro that we just made. So here in Opto Run, we're going to right click the button and come down here to assign macro. So click in it, right click, assign macro, and then now I've got other sheets opened up, so it's going to pull all kinds of crazy buttons in here. So actually let me close my other sheet so I don't put the wrong one. Let me close this one because it's going to pull all my macros from that sheet too. I'm going to close this one. Okay. All right, now I'm going to left click in it, then I'm going to right click, then I'm going to go to assign macro, and then now these have some buttons that we did. So this one is Run Opto. And so we called that one Run Opto. So we're going to click the macro that we did, and we're going to click OK. We're going to click off. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to left click, so it highlights it in these white boxes. Then we're going to right click, assign macro, and we're going to put clear. Okay, so good job. So far you've created macros, you recorded them, and you've created a button, and then you've assigned them. So let's go ahead and test this and see if it works. Now before we do this, go up here to File, Save. You always want to save your file. Lots of times if you want to play with it, if you get it working and you want to try something new, go back and save another copy of it that you can play with and screw up and whatnot. So we're going to test this, and I don't know if I'll get the error or not, but if you do, I'll show you how to fix it. So we're going to click Run Opto. Okay, now this worked perfect. It created our lineups. It put everybody over here, our salary, our exposure. It met all the parameters. Now we're going to test our clear button. And there it works. So Run Opto, clear, Run Opto, clear. So that's good. Now, if you pressed Run Opto and you got an error, I'm going to show you how to fix it, because that's what it caused me about an hour and a half headache last night. So let me pull this screenshot up, and I'm just going to leave it on the screen. I spent countless hours when I first started dealing with that solver solve error. So there's two things you have to do. The first one is, let me see, remember how to get here. So developer, so it's going to be in the Run Opto. You're going to get an error called, and it's going to highlight solver solve. So I'm going to go to the assign macro, the Run Opto macro, and I'm going to click Edit. This is going to pull you into the VBA code. So this is Microsoft Visual Basic. And what you want to do is make sure this says solver solve space user finish. This is what has to be added. User finish semicolon equals true. Lots of times it just says solver solve, and that's going to give you an error. So make sure this lineup is there. If you want to test it to see if it's still working, you can click this play button, or you can click save. So we'll just click save. We'll back out of it. Now try to click it. Run Opto again. Mine's working, so it's probably not a good tutorial. But click Run Opto. Are you still getting that error? Now if you are getting that error, I'm going to show you where to go. Let me drag this screenshot over here. Oh, that's a big screen. Okay, so when you do the same thing, take the same steps we just did and go back into your Microsoft Visual Basic, and then the first thing you want to do is go up to Tools. You're going to click Tools. The second thing, there's a drop down here, I couldn't get a screenshot of it, that says References. You're going to go to References, so Tools, References, and then you want to check this box. If you're getting that solver solve error again, it's because this box is not checked. It seems like we've already done this, but you have to do it again in VBA, because otherwise it will give you fits. So this user finish semicolon equals true, and then tools, references, and this solver button. Check this, click OK, and it should run at that point. Every issue I've ran into has been solved with this or tools, references, solver. I'm going to leave it up there for you. So if you need to pause the video, go take a look at it, you can. And then we're going to go ahead and dive in there too. So we're going to go back into the macro, Run Opto, Edit, Tools, and References is right here. And then this solver. So if this box is unchecked, that's your issue. So, and then these boxes you can make sure are checked, but solvers are the big one, because otherwise it's calling the solver solve, but it's not solving anything. So just turn that on, click save, make sure you save your macro, close it out, and now you should be able to click Run Opto and make it run. And that's it. So we've got a optimizer, we've got a couple of buttons here that we can work with. So that's going to wrap up the 4-part tutorial for getting a basic optimizer done. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now I want to go back real quick and look at some of my other ones and kind of show you, now that you know the basic on how it was to create this. So this was my golf one that I made, and so I only need the salary, or the name, the salary, and the projection, these three. So what I did is I ended up bringing in the odds to win. I brought in average points per game. I brought in a custom grade, and then I brought in a column for 50% projection, 50% average to kind of get something new. And I've been tinkering with it, so these numbers are crazy. But then you can see I've got the same columns that we just went over. I've got the picker column, the lock column, lock yes, lock no, and the total column. And I've got the same score, salary, players in there. And it works the same way. So let's go ahead and test it. Optimize. Yep, spits it out. And then you can reset it. My buttons work. So the only thing I did with this one, which is a little bit more advanced, and I may do a tutorial on it in the future, is I made a drop-down menu to where now I can optimize by average points per game, grade, or my 50-50 column, and create a new lineup. And then I added the model scores where it just sums up the different ones using the sum product. And I even added a min and max slider bar. So if you don't want any salaries over, say, you can see this column right here. Watch these move as I slide it up and down. They change from 0 to 1. So if you don't want anyone over 9,500, then as soon as you hit enter, it's going to erase everybody over 9,500. So it's kind of fun to play with. And then same thing with minimum. If you don't want anyone below 7,000, click that, and then anyone priced below this 7,000 is going to flip to zeros. So there's a lot of things that you can do with it. These are just a couple of the things that I did. And then it took me a while, but what I ended up doing here is I made it where I can optimize the lineup, and then I click save, and it's going to put it on this lineup tab here so I can take a look at all the lineups I saved. So if I come back here and go save, 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 it's going to keep adding it in there, and then I can click clear, close that out. Lineup export. So if I save one, I don't think I have the right salaries in here, and I want to export it. I've got it set up where if you put in the DK salaries over here, it'll bring in the codes, and then you can click this export to CBS, which that's some different VBA code, and it'll just give you something to upload directly into DraftKings. It does take a while to build these, so I just kind of wanted to show you the options that are out there and the different things that you can do. It is limited at 200 lines of code, so when I got into building one for baseball, it went out the window really quick because there is always more than 200 players once you get pitchers, and it was crazy. So golf was the nice basic one because we're just pulling 6 golfers. And then let me see if I've got a basketball one. Okay, so here's a basketball one I just wanted to show you real quick that I did before I built the... Oh, well, I got all kinds of stuff going on here. So what we just did, so we've got the name. We had to add position here. And then I added team, opponent, all this Vegas stuff. But you really only need name, position, salary, and then one of these projection columns. So this is from last year. Yeah, these are old stats. And we got the same thing. We got the pick column, the lock column, the yes, the no. The new thing when you get into positions is now you've got point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and then centers. And you can see there's a 0. So if this player, so DeRozan last year was a shooting guard on, I believe this is probably FanDuel. Yeah. So there's no option for him in any other position, but there's a 0 for shooting guard, so then that means this can be a 0 or a 1. So it's a similar formula than what we did, and we got the same thing over here that totals it up. And the only difference is I'm adding, the position and then the number, so I can pull point guard 1, point guard 2, and etc. all the way down the list. And then I got the same lock exclude over here. I left my slider bars, my drop-down menu. Man, I put a lot of time into this thing. I'm pretty impressed. And then I even did team exclusions down here. So if you wanted to exclude like San Antonio, you could click this and see right here. it changes that to a 0 in this column. And then when I take it out, it makes it a 1. Oh wow, still works. Impressive. But I'm going to click optimize and see if this is, it's still running. But then this brings up your FanDuel lineup, your salary, and then it's got all your projection, last 4 average. You hit reset, and I want to see if it'll still save. We're going to click save, and it's going to save the lineup over here. And then lineup export, if you've got all the salaries in here, which it's blank, I had people just, if you want to export and use that feature, copy and paste it, the CSV file in here. And then you got the export. You click this export to CVS, it shoots it out. And we got the lineup view. I'm going to go ahead and clear that out. And then I had the instructions over here for it. But yeah, that's pretty impressive. The one thing, if you are wanting to do one for basketball, you're going to get a lot more in-depth. And one of the things, let me show you. So do everything we just did, except for you're going to add these different position columns. And so if you're on DraftKings and it's a point guard, shooting guard, either one of these is an option for them. And so how we're going to do it, I'll just show you the quick code. If B2 equals point guard, and let me scroll over here. So B2 is our position, so we're just saying if B2 equals point guard, then we're going to make it 1 times Q2, otherwise we're going to leave it blank. And then 1 times Q2 is our picker. So right now it would be 0, so 1 times 0 would be 0. So it's going to be 0 or blank. And so here is where it's going to come true. If B2 equals shooting guard, 1 times Q2 is going to be 0. So then that means it's an option for a shooting guard. And then you can see you do that for every single one of these all the way across. And then players like on DraftKings, if you have multiple positions, you can run it across here. Now with DraftKings, it's a lot harder to get this optimal lineup to fill these spots because they mix and match. I've done it, but the code behind the scenes is ridiculous, so I would not recommend it. But anyways, I just wanted to show you that. And then over here, we got the same thing in our grand total column. So it's going to say if Q2, which that's our picker column here, equals 0, we're going to keep it 0. Otherwise, we're going to sum up this column over here. And then where's my code for pulling this? So we're going to VLOOKUP AG4, so that's this, PG semicolon 1, so that's point guard 1. And we're going to look for that in D202 to DF210. And so down at the bottom, I have a column where it lists all of these in a row. So anyways, I just want to kind of show you what this looks like and give you a basic tutorial to get started. Google is your friend. You can find a lot of stuff on Google to help you out. If you do have any questions, feel free to hit me up. I had fun making this. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully we can keep making more videos. Thanks, guys.